Nature of Society, Part 1, Session 7. This evening we will consider society as a whole. An important aspect of nature of society is the structure of society. An examination of this will certainly bring forth a greater understanding of the nature of society. On the blackboard is the 7-tier structure of society. Master teachers, civilizations, laws and traditions, influences of judges and master artists, governments, parliament, executive, judiciary, universities, churches, business and community centers, villages and towns, individual workers. So this is the 7-tier structure of society, starting with master teachers, civilizations, laws and traditions, influences of judges and master artists, governments, parliament, executive, judiciary, universities, churches, business and commercial centers, villages and towns, individual workers. This is the structure of society which we shall now proceed to describe. In all cases, the lower tier is influenced by the upper tier. We shall commence at the lowest level with the individual worker, of which we are all aware, whether we work for a large remuneration or not. The individual worker is the basic constituent of the society. He or she provides the goods and services that are essential for the functioning of society. Without this continuous supply of goods and services, the society would ground to a halt. This society is not exclusively limited to any nation or island, and we can appreciate that in this global village, the effect of anything untoward in the marketplace anywhere in the world can have consequences in other parts. The individual worker is any type of worker, whether he be agricultural, industrial, commercial, recreational, residential, or government. His remuneration is determined by what is available at the marginal site, as well as the minimum he is willing to accept, whichever is higher. Whether society is thriving well or not depends on the impact of the current economic policies on the individual worker. Are there any comments about this? So that's the description of the individual worker in this 7-tier structure of society. The second tier of the structure of society are villages and towns. These are where individuals and families reside in society. These are the neighborhoods and the facilities that go with them, such as schools, churches, parks, town halls, and community centers, post offices, bank branches, and some regional government offices. These are the communities that form a nation. Each community may have its unique personality, which we can all appreciate. It is here that the communal life that is so important is fostered, which engenders the loyalties and pride that we are all familiar with. Think of how painful it may be when someone is contemplating moving from one neighborhood or town to another. The economic prosperity of a town or village determines whether it will thrive or decline. Evidence of this is well seen in many forms in the United States over the millennia. The third tier of the structure of society is the business and commercial centers. These are normally central locations in any country, which provides the facility for goods to be sent for trading with other centers, either internally or externally to other countries. Goods may be produced in industrial towns and sent to the city center. These centers are rarely places of exchange of goods and services. It is here that the head offices of businesses and banks are located to provide the necessary financial and other services that go along with these transactions. These are also great centers of employment where workers from the towns and villages come to every day to provide the services needed at these business centers. When these masses come to these centers, they also provide great opportunities for commercial activity. Businesses providing these commercial services usually are very well patronized, and this patronage reflects itself in very high land values. The unique locations of these business centers are therefore very much sought after sites, from which landowners demand very high rents for their use. Of these many business centers, one is normally chosen as the seat of government and parliament of the nation, and is called the capital. In addition to the commercial and business value of the capital city, this location also receives a large influx of government workers every day, which increases the need for enhanced quantities of goods and services over and above what would normally be provided at the commercial cities. Population concentrations are normally highest in capital cities. Before we move on to the next tier, we would like to reiterate that the tier above influences the type of tier below. In this instant case, the commercial and/or capital cities have an influence over the type of towns and villages, as well as the type of individual worker. The next tier under consideration in the structure of society is government. Government is at the midpoint of the structure. Government's intrinsic purpose is to act as conduit for the influences of the top tiers on the lower tiers. Government comprises of the parliament, the judiciary, the executive, the churches, and the universities. These various arms of government will now be described. Parliament is described by Edmund Burke, an 18th century English philosopher, as a deliberative assembly of one nation with one interest, that of the whole, where not local purposes, not local prejudices, or to guide, but the general good, resulting from the general reason of the whole. In Parliament, the people's representatives debate with a view to arriving at decisions that serve the general good as a result of using the general reason of the whole. As to whether this definition holds up today is another question, but the debates are supposed to have the state respond appropriately to the great many issues and the problems that the nation faces perennially. The judiciary is the government of law that seeks to dispense justice based on the common and statute laws of the land. The common law is the law that has been built up over time based on the traditions of the land. This common law is usually based on natural or even divine laws coming from the above tiers from the above. More will be said on this later. The judiciary comprises the various courts of the land, example, the High Court, the magistracy, the family court, the industrial court, etc. The executive or cabinet of the country is the area of government that executes the policies of the ruling party that would have been debated in Parliament. The cabinet, through the Ministry of Finance, presents an annual budget of revenue and expenditure to the Parliament for debate approval, after which the revenue collections and expenditures for the public good take place for this one-year period. An unseen arm of the government is the church. It is here that the moral and spiritual values of each denomination and religion is crystallized and dispensed to followers. This arm of government is very important in the creation of peace and harmony in the land, but if misdirected can lead to great disharmony between the various religions and traditions in the land. Harmony here is very important for the nation to be viable. The universities are another unseen arm of government. This arm is very important for the education of citizens from the primary to the tertiary level. This arm is very important in providing individual workers for each tier of the structure of society, from towns, villages to master teacher. The quality of education instilled in the individual workers play an important part in the quality of society resulting and the quality of persons filling the tiers. Let us have our break now. When we return, we shall consider the remaining three tiers of the structure of society. So far, we have considered the first four tiers of the structure of society. These are the operational tiers of the structure. Now we will consider the influential tiers. By influential tiers, we mean that they have philosophical, moral, even spiritual influences on the lower tiers. The next tier under consideration is the tier of judges and master artists. Judges occupy a very important place in society. Apart from dispensing justice on basis of statute law coming from Parliament, their other very important function is to interpret the higher laws, natural and divine laws, in their deliberation on issues that require clarity and intuition that may be inaccessible to the common citizen. In this way, they provide real direction to society and can bring about resolution of ideas that is acceptable to all. These resolutions on issues add to the common law of the land. Master artists, such as the great poets, writers, painters, musicians, etc., like judges, interpret and convey the divine influences from above and make these available to society. They can have tremendous influence on society and can be influential for generations in the life of a nation. The next level or tier of society is the level of civilizations, laws, and traditions. It is here that the laws, the mores, the traditions of the society are formulated. The laws are formulated by wise men. For example, Moses in the Judeo-Christian tradition, Confucius and Lao Tzu of the Buddhist tradition, and Manu from the Vedic Hindu tradition are examples of lawgivers of these various civilizations. The social mores and values, the peculiar habits and pastimes, and the particular culture that the society embraces would have been founded historically at this tier. The Ten Commandments of the Old Testament, Judeo-Christian, the laws of Manu, Vedic system, and the Tao Te Ching, Taoism, are examples of laws formulated for the various traditions. The laws formulated by the state all take their lead from these laws and statutes and the judicial law are based on these laws in every tradition. The men who would have formulated these laws would clearly have been highly inspired men who are revered for their great wisdom and whose words and influences would have resonated through the millennia in the various traditions. The seventh and top tier of the structure of society is that of the master teachers. Examples of such persons are Jesus Christ, Christian faith, Krishna, Hindu religion, Buddha, Buddhist religion, and Muhammad, Islamic faith. These men were the avatars that would have had religions set up in their name. Their influences have been felt over the millennia, and all societies are profoundly affected by their religions, as you can appreciate. These master teachers have had a tremendous effect on members of society. Their utterances have been studied, they have been worshipped, and their lives have been emulated. The religions that have been formed, admittedly, have taken on the actual personalities of these master teachers, with Jesus Christ and Christianity being renowned for care and forgiveness, Krishna and Hinduism being renowned for the purity of the soul, Buddha and Buddhism being renowned for harmony and discipline, and Muhammad and Islamic renowned for justice and honor. This is not to say that these master teachers and religions were bereft of or did not value other qualities. So these are the 7 tiers that form the structure of society. The first 4 tiers are operational, and the upper 3 are influential, and each tier influences the tiers below it. This structure is not very obvious, but is very effective in making and keeping the society viable. There is great wisdom in this structure, and we will examine later in future sessions how each tier actually works. During the week, try to relate this structure of society to what you see in your everyday routine. Try to see each tier at work and come back with your comments and observations. These observations will go a long way towards your understanding of the nature of society. Next week, we will consider this issue further. Before we end, I would like again to let you attendees know that Unsustainable Development is an educational offering devoted to the dissemination of its course to all of mankind and to those who have the English language as their official language in the first instance, and to all eventually all over the world. To make this possible, and because we do not charge a fee for this dissemination, we rely wholeheartedly on monetary donations to meet the cost of achieving these goals. If you have found these sessions useful thus far and would like others to have access to them, we would greatly accept your donations should you be inclined to offer them. You can send donations to our PayPal account at this email address, lordbroker2001@yahoo.com. Thank you for your kind gesture. As indicated before, you can communicate with us by going to our Facebook page, Unsustainable Development, or our website, unsustainabledevelopment.com, or our YouTube channel, Balancing the Economy. We will respond to all your comments or questions. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the alert button to get notices that our latest session has been posted. All sessions are archived at our website. Please share with your family, friends, and acquaintances.